Good morning everyone. Today we are here to start with another poem of class 12, that is Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Moving on to the poet, Pablo Neruda is a pen name of Pablo Ricardo Reyes Salto. He is a Chilean poet who won Nobel Prize in Literature in 1971. And what his way of expressing the poem, let's talk about. Keeping quiet, the title itself suggests that the poet wants us to be quiet. Why it is important to be quiet? It's important to be quiet because peace and tranquility is essential for judging us. We need to judge our abilities, we need to judge our mistakes even. We need to know what is our limitations and what are our benefits actually. The title of the poem suggests that we need to keep quiet. Why to keep quiet? It is essential to keep ourselves quiet, not only mentally but physically, emotionally. Why? Just to introspect, just to get the information about ourselves. What is our action? What are the outcomes of our action actually? We need to get those things in our life easily. Before moving ahead, I just want to read poem for you all so that we can explain it later on stanza wise as well as the essential pointers of the name. Let's go on. Now we will count up to 12 and we will keep us still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. What the poet is saying in this line, now we will count to 12. 12 is a whole number which can refers to be 12 minutes, 12 seconds, 12 months or 12 years. 12 years, 12 centuries. That's all it goes. It's the time that has been taken by a person to introspect themselves. Though the poet is not talking about these much things, but we can think 12 as these way. And we all need to keep still. Still means not dullness. Still means being in a peace state, a sort of meditation where we need to introspect what is going on in our mind, in our body and in our thoughts. We need to control them. Until unless we are able to control them, we cannot find out what is the root cause of these things. For once on the face of this earth is personification. We are personifying here. Let's not speak in any language. The poet requested us. Again, it is focusing us not to discriminate on the basis of language, because language is very essential thing for us. Though we can communicate with through language only, we can communicate with word, we can express ourselves in language, but it is the only barrier in discriminating us from others. We used to discriminate people on the basis of the language they are speaking of. They are Chinese, they are Americans, they are Indians, they are so and so other countries. So it is a base of discrimination. One should stop speaking any language to curb that discrimination. Next, let's stop for 1 second. What he says, let's stop. Stop means to think upon. Why we need to stop? We stop to think upon our actions, what we have done, to think upon the outcomes, that what is the outcome of our actions, what we have done till now. Everything is being specified here. And not move our arms so much. Here we have two different phases of. A literal meaning says that we do not have to spread our arms much. But what a metaphorical meaning or a figurative meaning of this line says, that we do not have to intervene in all the actions that are being done in the earth. We need to keep still, we need to be self-centered, which is quite opposite to our nature. But it is required, it is the need of the hour. Let's move on. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would be all together and in a sudden strangeness. Sudden strangeness, another way of poetic device is there, alliteration. Exotic moment, I have already mentioned what exotic moment is. It is an unusual and interesting moment that has been achieved when we really approach towards meditation, when we really feel what we are, when we really assess how our actions are imposing onto our lives. And the exotic moment will be achieved only when we meditate, when we find out what we are, without rush, without engines. Rush means huge crowd. Engines refers to the machines automobiles and factories that are creating lots of noise, having a lots of space in our life. But once all these things are curbed, all these actions are being over, then the kind of peace and tranquility that we have observed during the lockdown also, we have observed that peace and tranquility all around. We feel that how nature revived, these things might be occurring to us. Then we would be all together, a very accessible thing. We would be all together like a brotherhood, together like one unit, without any discrimination on basis of caste, culture and creed. We all be united because we are not speaking any language. We all be united because we have left over all the jobs what we are doing. We have all be united because we are not discriminating us on the basis of the standards we are having in the society. And in a sudden strangeness. And that unique movement is sudden, strange, quite strange to us because it is a new feeling that has been arising in us. The poet is saying that when we meditate, when we stop working on any of the things that are being imposing onto us, the actions, when we are stopping all these things, when we really meditate, when we really need to introspect, and when we introspect, we are going to do certain things. The very first thing, that we stop discriminating on the basis of language, caste, culture and creed. Another thing arises that we need to develop a feeling of brotherhood. All the human beings who are existing on this earth are like our brothers. We need to be together, and together focusing and working on one action. And that working together is a strange thing that gives us an exotic moment to our life. That's what the poet feels. The first two stanzas are giving this glimpse to us that why it is required. Let's move on to the other one. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hand. Very important aspect. What we need, but the poet is giving us the glimpse that when a fisherman who has been fishing since ages, who is earning his livelihood by just catching the fishes and selling them in the market, selling them in the fisheries and many other places, he is hardly being bothered about what is the outcome of his action. For the first time ever, when he sits silently, when he completely introspect his actions, and then only he find it out that his actions are actually harming the natural cycle. The natural cycle, disturbing the environment. He has not ever thought about previously. Why? Because he was too busy, too engaged to earn his livelihood. He hardly had time to think upon what he had done. The similar way the salt gatherer, the one who is earning his livelihood by gathering salt from the seashores and transporting them to the various salt making industries. He has not even considered once that the salt collection or gathering will affect him badly. When he sits silently, when he introspect, he looked onto his body, he found that his hands were really hurt by the salt. In earning his livelihood, man was so composed, so engaged that he hardly thought about what he has done and what is the outcome of his action. Here poet is insisting us to focus, to just eradicate out what is actually being happened. Now let's move on towards the last way. Now the poet is saying, those who prepare green wars. Another example, green wars refers to the wars against environment, wars against nature. People are so destructive, that they are so selfish, that for their own welfare they keep on harming the environment, they keep on harming the nature. And that's what the poet is saying. Those who prepare green wars, those refers to the human beings who prepare means who always feel that they are going to access their liabilities, their durabilities on the basis of anything. Wars with gas, wars with fire. Definitely wars with nature and wars with fires refers to the weapons and gas refers to the nuclear wars. Victory with no survivors. It's transferred again. And actually it is one of the ironical thing that what's the use of that victory when we do not have anyone to cherish that victory with? What is the use of that victory? We do not have anyone around to spread our happiness, spread our joyful moments with them. Victory with no survivors. What's the outcome of nuclear weapons? You just feel upon. Everyone is showing that they are the better than the others in terms of nuclear weapons, in terms of nuclear terminology. Is this feasible? Are we going to sustain if we are having this nuclear? What is the outcome of the mindset of the people, those who are always keep thinking about wars? All the developed states are always being imposing their governments just because they are having nuclear weapons. But they hardly thought about that once the nuclear weapons have been used, what will be the consequence? The poet is imposing us that those who are thinking about new wars with gases, wars with weapons, were actually doing worst. What's actually doing worst to the nature? They are creating environment, they are achieving victories, but ultimately it's a great irony that the victory will have no survivor to cherish. So, the tone of the poem is going to be changed from now on. Now, what the consequences are, we have already observed. Now, what we need to do, in spite of war, what we need to do, that we have to talk about. Would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers. Rather than thinking about wars, poet is emphasis on human beings to put clean clothes. Clean clothes, again alliteration, but clean clothes have figurative meaning also. It's not only about the clothes that you are wearing, but about the heart, the thoughts, the perception you have. It should be pure, serene, white, having no such glimpse of any discrimination about caste, culture, creed, status, and the awareness about the society. One must be equal in all aspects. They must be like brothers. Brothers means the one who is having the harmony, who is having the tranquility, who is having the love, affection, care. That is required here. Now, what do you think? In the shades, doing nothing. Doing nothing is another way. Doing nothing refers to the thing that means not to the death, not to the inactivity. Doing nothing means having thoughts of no aspect. So, the poet is actually giving us a glimpse that we should not do nothing. Do nothing refers to means no actions, no perception, no expectations, nothing to be there in our mind. Rather than we have only one unique feeling in our heart, and that one unique feeling is to be love and to give love. Love, care, affection, that are the basic essence of human life. We have forgotten all these things and we are just running after the success, victory, we are running after money, we are running after life which is actually left behind. Now, move on to the second last part. What I want should not be confused. The poet has clarified that what I want here is not be confused with total inactivity. Total inactivity means dullness, listlessness, sleeping. You must not be sleeping, you must not be inactive, you must not be dull. You must be without any thoughts, without any expectations, and without any creativity. Because once you are engaged in anything, you lost the tranquility of your mind, you lost the tranquility, peace of your mind, which poet doesn't want. But the poet wants that you need to be tranquilized, you need to be peaceful, you need to have that feeling of love, care and affection, and you must be surrounded by the people with unique feeling of love, oneness. You must be having the feeling of brotherhood. So, what he says, life is what it is all about. It's very obvious that life moves on. Life is what it is all about. What we thought of life, it is ultimately turning out to be. Now it is up to in our hand that how we want to turn that life out of our hands. I want no truck with death. No truck with death refers to the nobody association with death or death. Nobody associated with death. We do not want any loaded lumps of death just because of our action. We must be very careful that we are here to spread love, harmony and peace. So the poet is saying, if we were not so single-minded about keeping our life moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt with this sadness of never understanding ourselves and threatening ourselves with death. The poet is actually expressing that one should not be confused with dizziness, laziness, dullness in life. One should always be engaged in some productive way. Whatever he is doing is being a way to move ahead the life, to keep the life moving on. And that's why we all not but be single-minded. We about keeping our lives moving. One must be having single thought that we need to keep our life moving, and for one could do nothing. And that doing nothing means engaging themselves to not do any of the activity, to have to spread, in order to spread peace, tranquility and harmony. And perhaps a huge silence. The silence is the greatest blessings for us. That might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and threatening ourselves to death. Because that silence will never underestimate our potential. We always being assessed with the more potential than the limitations, and we must be very happy to have that in life. Last but not the least, the poet is focusing on what human has to learn from the Mother Earth. We all know Earth is the unique planet on this earth, not only because of the persistence of life, but because of the activities that are being engaged. We know Earth is a symbol of patience. Perhaps the earth can teach us when everything seems dead and latest proves to be alive. The planet where everything seems to be dead at one time. On the let's move, what we find a new life start persisting in it. Once a destructive movement has been occurred in the form of famine, in the form of floods, in the form of tsunamis and earthquakes. But later on, the hopes, the aspiration has arrived with the inheritance of new life. The seeds are destroyed, but the new plant has germinated. That's what the symbol of life. That is the promise that has been exhibited in the earth, and we have to keep that patience. We have to learn that patience. When everything seems stopped in our life, when everything seems destructive, we need to keep silent and wait for the right moment to come. That the poets request us to keep our life sustaining. And now, towards the end, the very important line, the refrain line, now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. Poet expresses that these things are essential for sustaining our beautiful life. The life which is a gift of God, the life that has been benefited to all human beings to use their brain and to sustain what they want, they already have and what they all want in life. But because of the greediness, because of the lusty behavior of human beings, we lost many things all around. We lost families, we lost love, we lost affection, we lost the surrounding atmosphere. But the poet is compelling us to revive that things. Whatever we have lost, we have to regain it back by keeping ourselves quiet with this poem. The poem is so beautiful that it can easily convert your thoughts into ideas, and that is later on converted into action to proceed your life happily. Thank you, and I just wish that my questions, assignments will be definitely provided to you for the same. Thank you.